Hello, everyone. This is Jose Albis, CEO of the Albis Consulting Group. We're here with Mike Stelzner, the founder of the Social Media Examiner, the super successful social media blog website, and with summits and all sorts of things, and now the author also of Launch, a book that has an amazing collection of content and guidelines for small businesses and marketers in general, to help them succeed online and create an amazing experience for their users. Welcome, Mike.
Jose, thank you very much for having me. I'm excited to be here.
Well, I have to say that I'm really excited to get your book. I don't have it yet, but I've been reading about it, and I've read the first chapter, and I love it. I'm very excited because the motivation of the interview is about launching our new website. And
cool.
Believe me, I'm going to follow a lot of what you suggest because it makes a lot of sense, and it's part of the challenges that my clients run into. So, to begin with, our first question, quick question. Tell us a little bit where this the elevation principle came from. How did you come up with this?
Well, the elevation principle, first of all, if you think about your business like a rocket ship, this is a metaphor I write about in the book a lot. You're either a marketer or a business owner trying to control this big ship and figure out where it's going to go. Well, the elevation principle talks about fuel for your rocket ship, which is content, and people consume that fuel. So the formula is very simple. Great content plus other people minus marketing messages equal growth. And great content are things like how-to articles, interviews with experts like what we're doing right now, case studies. And then other people means how can you figure out how to bring experts to your audience, and how can you tap the knowledge that's inside their mind and shine the spotlight on those experts. By doing that, it makes your company look bigger. Some of those experts will turn into what I call fire starters, who may end up supporting you and helping you grow. And the last part of it is minus marketing messages, which means nobody likes commercials. So, for example, when was the last time you went to a wedding sponsored by Nike, or received a present where you had to watch an infomercial before you could get into the gift? So when you can figure out how to take your marketing messages and put them aside, people will receive your great content as a gift. And when they receive it as a gift, they'll share it, they'll love it, everyone will be talking about it. So that's what the elevation principle is, Jose. And to your original question, I came up with it basically just through trial and error. I write about how in the book I graduated magna cum laude of the School of Hard Knocks. You know, just constant experimentation until I figured it out. So it just didn't kind of came through, it didn't just materialize out of nowhere. It was through years and years of trial and error.
So do you think that that great content, can it be replaced with great products or services, or it should be a combination, or how do people focus? Because that's a challenge a lot of the times.
There was a survey by Edelman called the Edelman Trust Survey, and they found that people care more about trust than they do about products and services. So it's not so much that you have to have a great product and a great service. Instead, you have to have trust with people, because they will never consider your products or your services until they feel like they can trust you. And we live in an era today, and this is prevalent all over the world, where there's marketing messages flying at us constantly from every angle. People are tuning it out, and they don't trust businesses anymore. So one way to go about establishing trust is to create really valuable content that your customers care about. And that is step one to developing a nurturing relationship, to having a watering hole, if you will, where people want to come back again and again. Once you've established that gathering place or that community, then you can begin the concept of trying to talk about your products and services. But without it, you're reliant on middlemen, you're spending lots of money, and you're struggling to survive.
Mm-hmm. So you've had a lot of success with this technique, and at what point, it's always a challenge for small business, and actually businesses that start with social media, and they're trying to get into the new paradigm of we need to offer value, we need to shift, we need to,
right.
and they go like, but at what point do I sacrifice? How much do I need to sacrifice, and how long does it take until I actually see the return on the
right.
investment? So,
right. Well, it's a tricky question, right? How much stuff do we give away for free before we start marketing, right?
Exactly.
So marketing is like friction for your rocket ship. And if you think about if you've been in an airplane, which I'm sure you have, you know the flaps come up and you start slowing down as you come to a landing. There comes a point where you need to start marketing, you need to start selling to your audience, but realize the moment that you do that is when people will start not paying attention. So what you have to do is have this fine balance. It's like moving levers, you know. You have to make sure that you're providing enough content most of the time and selling the minority of the time so that people will keep coming, because the second you switch your gears from we're going to provide great valuable content to we're going to start selling you, you're going to slow down. And you have to slow down and you have to sell eventually. So it's that fine balance. At Social Media Examiner, we have 3 periods of time a year that are about 60 days in duration where we crank up our sales engines. And then we crank them back down, because we know that if we're constantly selling, people are going to leave. And in our case, we're selling events. So, and even when we do sell, we don't sell in a way that appears to be salesy. So, for example, right now there's an advertisement on our site for my book, but it says get a free chapter of the book. So it doesn't even look like a sale. Instead, it looks like a piece of content that someone can go to. And many people are doing that. So if you can use free to get someone to come to a point where they could be sold to, it won't be perceived as a sales pitch. And it is a tricky balance. And we waited till we had 10,000 subscribers, Jose, before we started doing any of this.
Wow. How long did that take you to do?
It took us 3 months, which is very fast.
That's
very
awesome.
fast. But, you know, that's abnormal. Don't get me wrong.
Yeah.
You know, but you need to come up with some sort of metric before you start. Like, how many subscribers do I want to have? Or how many page views do I want to have? Or some sort of a goal that where you know you've reached a critical mass point where you can afford to start selling now, because you've got so many loyal followers that many of them will feel, some of them will feel no problem taking a look at what you have to buy because you have established that trust.
And how, I mean, I guess that this varies according to industry. What can you, what would be a strategy for in general, for any industry to actually come up with a way of understanding this or measuring it? What would you say to them?
Well, first and foremost, you got to figure out who you're trying to target. So if you're already an established company, you want to survey your customers. If you're a startup company, you want to reach out to people that are respected and have access to your prospects. And maybe put a survey together and ask them if they would help you get the word out about your survey. Gather all that intelligence and then decide what kind of content that you can produce that's going to be very, very attractive to that audience. This transcends all industries. You know, I don't care if you're a cooking manufacturer, I don't care if you're selling consulting services or if you're a nonprofit organization. Because the moral of the story is you want to try to eliminate the need for middlemen. You don't want to have to pay an advertiser to get to these people. So if you can figure out what people are interested in, you can start creating content and promoting that content and bringing in those outside experts who might find such great value in that content that they're going to say, hey, check this out, and bring some of their audience to your audience. That's how you kind of get started and how you build that critical mass.
What do you tell to offline businesses or the most old school?
It doesn't really matter whether you're doing this online or offline. The good news about online is it's free. In offline, you could still do this, but you'd have to do it through mail, or you'd have to do this by having a radio show, for example, on a real radio station or a TV show. In the offline world, it's very expensive to produce a television show. It's very expensive to mail something. It's very expensive to have airtime on the radio. So I would suggest that they try to get online because the medium is practically free. I mean, and you know this.
Yeah.
You know, you could set up a website in 5 minutes and begin doing this for nothing. All it is time.
How do you create what would be a way of creating good content? Because you know there's so much content that it's being created out there. What are the main aspects so that you can create this content that the one that you talk about, the one that's gonna drive success?
Yep. So you got to how-to articles are one great way to do it. And this is going to vary by industry, of course, but if you're a consultant or you're a company that sells expensive products or services, and what you could do is you could just simply say, here's some great tips. Ask yourself, what are the absolute best secrets that we have inside of our company, and literally give them away. And what you do by giving those secrets away in content is people go crazy over that content. They share it on Facebook, they share it on Twitter, they share it on LinkedIn. Everybody starts talking about it, and it becomes an attraction mechanism that brings people to your site. And that's one way to do it. Also, find businesses that are successful in your industry and interview them. And I take camera crews with me to trade shows, Jose, and I get these people on camera and I just ask them questions, and then I release these videos over a period of time, and everybody loves it because everybody wants access to great information and great people. And another thing you can do is figure out some way of recognizing people in your industry. Mm-hmm. If there's some great people that have done some great things and maybe they've got a new book out, review their book without asking for anything in return. Kind of become a destination that is known for really high valuable stuff that addresses the, great information, great insight, great people, and recognition, and that will create a really way to help set you apart from all the others in your industry, and that'll get things rocking and rolling for you.
So do you think that that it is just a fear of oh, we're gonna run out of great ideas, like we're gonna reveal our secrets, and what then? What you say to them, what then?
Let me share a little story with you. Back in 2002, I wrote a paper called How to Write a White Paper on white papers. It was about 10 pages long. I gave away what I thought were all my secrets that I ever knew. And my editor said, "Are you nuts? You're giving away all your secrets." I had 40 people register for that white paper in the first week, 400 by the first month. Fast forward to today, I have had over 85,000 people register for that white paper. I'm still getting 50 leads a day from that thing. But here's what's more exciting. I thought I wrote everything I knew in that 10-page paper. I ended up writing a book on it, okay? And then I thought, wow, I've written everything there is to know about this. And then I've since created so much content, I could have written 2 more books on it. I guarantee you that there is an endless supply, because once you start supplying tips and tactics and people start asking questions, you think of new things. Like, for example, white papers are boring, but people want to know how to use them to generate leads. People want to know how to use them to make money. There's all these little areas that you wouldn't have thought about. And by the way, what you know in your mind can never be conveyed fully in an article. And all it does is really just show people, and someone could never fully copy it. Because bottom line is, they're just getting a taste of what you really know. And if you start speaking about it more frequently and people start asking you more questions, before you know it, there's so many different angles and so many different ways you can talk about it. It's endless. So, there's really no endless. And to your other question, how do you find ideas? I talk about this in the book.